Welcome to this explainer. Imagine for a second that you have a crisp $100 bill in your hand right now. It's not a windfall, it's not some massive bonus, and let's be real, it certainly isn't enough to change your life today.
For most of us, that $100 is what I like to call ghost money. It's that very specific amount that just quietly vanishes from your bank account between the 1st and the 15th of the month without leaving a single traceable explanation. You know what I mean? It's the dinner you don't really remember having, it's the subscription for that app you haven't opened in 6 months, and it's this whole series of tiny, mindless transactions that individually meant absolutely nothing, but collectively meant that $100 is just gone forever. Now, I want to talk about what actually happens when that specific $100 goes somewhere intentional instead. And look, I'm not talking about building dramatic wealth overnight, because honestly, the math of $100 is much, much slower than the internet likes to tell you.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1. Month 1. The category transfer. So think about the person you were yesterday. You were very likely someone who intended to invest someday, right? You were waiting for the right moment, maybe a bigger salary or perfect market conditions. But the moment you open a brokerage account on a random Tuesday evening, link your checking account and set up an automated transfer for that $100, everything shifts. It's funny because the whole process takes maybe 20 minutes. It is incredibly anticlimactic. You close the app, you wake up the next morning, and your life looks completely identical to how it looked the morning before.
But beneath the surface, something truly massive just happened. The magic of month 1 is not that you now have a $100 balance. Not at all. It's the fact that crossing this threshold fundamentally changes your financial trajectory. And honestly, it changes the very category of human being you occupy.
You see, you are no longer someone who intends to invest. You are an investor. And those two people are just not the same. They make different decisions, they notice different things, and they arrive at entirely different destinations 20 years down the road. The behavioral research on this is incredibly clear. The single most reliable predictor of whether or not you will build wealth isn't your IQ, it's not your return on investments, and it's certainly not the market conditions when you start. It is simply whether the account exists and has money in it. By moving that first $100, you've crossed the only threshold that actually matters.
Moving on to Section 2. Month 6. The first test.
Now, the real test doesn't happen when you set up the automation. It happens about 6 months in. Imagine the market drops by 8%. Your $600 in contributions is suddenly worth $563. On paper, you have lost $37. And your nervous system, which literally evolved to treat any loss as a physical threat, begins to just scream at you.
This right here is the exact moment where most people fail. They look at that minor loss and they move to cash waiting for the right moment to get back in. But here's the secret. The right moment never arrives with a clear signal. The person who builds real wealth is not the one who is smarter. It's the one who has the absolute discipline to do exactly nothing when doing nothing feels completely wrong. Your job at this stage is not to optimize your portfolio. It is simply to not interfere with the process.
So, the crucial point is this. While people are waiting on the sidelines for stability, the market recovers, and it usually happens during the few days immediately following the absolute worst news. JP Morgan data shows that missing just the 10 best trading days over a 20-year period will cut your total returns in half. Sitting in cash waiting for a safe feeling destroys your returns. Your $600 became $563 and you did nothing? That was the exact right answer.
Section 3. Year 1. Building a rate. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what happens internally. By the end of year 1, you've systematically put in $1,200. If the market gave you an average return, you have about $1,247, meaning you made $47 in a year. That is literally the cost of one decent dinner out. From the outside, you might think, why go through all that discipline for $47? But from the inside, you are building a rate, not just a balance. That 47 becomes 94, then 145. The compounding is accelerating, and it quietly awakens your financial awareness. Suddenly, you see the 1.2% expense ratio on your 401k and realize it's a trap. You look at your credit card interest and see it's canceling out your investments. You spot that unused $180 subscription. You aren't just saving money anymore. You're someone who tracks returns, and that person sees every single cost in their life through a completely different lens.
Section 4. Year 5. The danger zone.
By year 5, something magical but also really dangerous happens. The compounding starts getting visible. Your $6,000 has grown to over $7,000. Your money is now generating about $42 every single month just by existing. But year 5 is also where lifestyle inflation is at its most lethal. Your income is likely higher now, and that $100 transfer feels almost meaningless. You'll hear a little voice telling you that you deserve a break, or that pausing for 1 year won't matter. But pausing for 3 years at year 5 is a devastating $19,000 mistake. You aren't just losing 3 years of deposits, you're losing the compounding on those deposits for the remaining 20 years of your timeline. Section 5, Years 10 to 30, the compounding machine. If you survive that danger zone and make it to year 10, everything changes. That $100 automated transfer is no longer a forced discipline. It's just an automatic default setting, like paying your rent. And this is where the math flips completely. In year 1, you did 100% of the heavy lifting. By year 10, the market is doing 45% of the work. By year 13, you hit the crossover. The market is contributing more than you are. And by year 20, the market is making $28,000 more than you actually put in. You've shifted from being the engine of your wealth to simply being the steward of a self-sustaining system.
And this brilliantly illustrates the final outcome by year 30. It's absolutely staggering. You contributed a total of $36,000 out of your own pocket over 3 decades, but the market's heavy lifting generated $85,000. Think about that. By year 30, for every single dollar you put in, the market has put in $2.36.
Let's move on and see how this builds if you scale it up. $100 a month gets you to about $121,000. $200 gets you to roughly $243,000. And $500? That scales you past $600,000. The numbers get bigger, for sure, but the absolutely crucial variable here is the 30 years of time, not the starting amount. Time is the oxygen that compounding needs to breathe.
And honestly, this brings us to the ultimate emotional payoff. Over this journey, you completely transform from someone checking their banking app at 2:54 a.m. out of sheer panic to someone logging in out of genuine, relaxed curiosity. You shift from looking at your phone out of fear to checking in on something that's quietly growing in the background. That immense peace of mind, that is what that small $100 a month actually buys you.
So, wrapping up here, the $100 you invest this month will not change your life this month, but it completely changes the person making the decision next month and the month after that. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. If crossing that 20-minute threshold doesn't change your life today, but completely changes the person you are 30 years from now, what is stopping you from setting up that transfer tonight?